So for today's tutorial, we're going to work on a patient data set. So I already have Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio open. You can go ahead and open that. Let's start with our database. So I'm going to come over here, right click, and we're going to select new database. And I'm going to name this database patient data. So I already have patient data, so I'll just name it patient data 2. You can name it patient data, whatever you want, and I'm just going to create that. Now we have this database. Let's create a new query here like this. So come over to this database, right click, and we're going to go to tasks. Then we're going to import a flat file. Let me reduce this. Go to specify input file, and you can go ahead and browse where your file is. So we're just going to come over here and browse, and I'm going to select my data set. The link to this data set will be in the description box below. So I'm going to name this table hospital patients like this, and I'm going to click on next. Now we have a preview of our data set. This is what our data set looks like. Let's go to next, and now we can change our how would I say, details of our particular data set. So let me go back to preview data. So for patient ID, okay, I'm going to use nvarchar 50. For age, let's leave age at tiny. We can leave it, let's just make it int just in case, so it's always better. I will just to be on the safer side, everything that is tiny int, I'm just going to make int admission. This we are going to stay as date. Treatment costs, we're going to make it, let me see what it looks like. Treatment cost, okay, it's just digits, there's no float. Okay, I'm going to leave it at int. Insurance covered, let's make it nvarchar 50. Medication cost is going to be int. Lab costs, we're going to make int also. This we're going to make nvarchar 50. Okay, so this is what it should length of stay. Now let's just make it int. So I don't want to do tiny int, just in case we carry out a calculation that it won't be able to take. I don't want it to affect our results, so that's why I'm just changing all of them to int. So we have nvarchar 50 for anything that involves text or a combination of text and numbers. Then we have date, and then we have int for anything that is just purely digits. So I'm going to go to next, and then I'm going to finish, and we've inserted our data, and I'm just going to close this. Now let's take a moment to look at our data. So I'm just going to select all from the name of our table is hospital patients, and I'm going to run this query. So this is what we have as our data set. So we've successfully imported our data set. But before we continue, you'll see that we have this red line here. So what I'm going to do is refresh. So Control Shift and R, and just give it a moment, and you see that this is going to disappear. So we can go on to start our queries. Next, let's get a summary or a general overview of our data. While we can see it, let's do some analysis. So let's make this overview of data, and let's do a count of the number of, let me say, number of patients let's say as number of patients and let me just close this first so we can have some suggestion of this be hospital patients, and I'm just going to okay, we have 2000 patients in our data set, so we'll just use this to build up our query and then we'll add other details to this instead of doing it one by one. So I'll just move this. Next, let's add another query to this. I'm going to do another count. This time let's see the number of diagnoses. So we'll do a distinct count. Instead of just counting the number of items in the column, we'll count each diagnosis that is in that column. So we'll do a distinct count of the diagnosis column, and this is going to be as the diagnoses, and let me copy this. We'll do another distinct count of, we want to see the number of departments, so and this is going to be departments, and the final item want to see the number of doctors in this particular data set. So this will be doctor assigned, and this is going to be doctors, and I'm just going to run this query. So we have 2000 patients, 30 unique diagnoses, 10 departments, and 684 doctors. Next, let's look at how many patients do we have in each department. So this is going to be patients by departments, and we are going to select the department column, and we are going to do counts as number of patients and we're going to reference our table I'm going to group by departments, and we're going to order by number of patients in descending order, so we can see which one has the highest number of patients and which one has the lowest. I'm just going to run that. So we have the general surgery has the highest. I'll just talk about the first three. So general surgery, pediatrics, and then urology, and the final three is dermatology, neurology, and gynecology. Yeah, that's the breakdown of number of patients by department. Next, let's do the let's look at the costs for treatment by department. So I'm just going to make this total costs, total treatments costs by department. So let's start with, we're going to select the departments, and we are going to get the departments, and we are going to get the sum for the, we're going to use treatment cost column, and this is going to be, you will just use, let's say, as total treatment cost, and we're going to do this from the hospital patients dataset. Let's group by department, and we're going to order by total treatment costs in descending order. Okay, there's another typo here, it's departments, and I also have another one here, so just correct that. And I'm just going to run this query. So we have pediatrics, well, you know what, looking at this, it really doesn't do much because we are just saying the total cost by departments. Let's do an average as well. Let me copy this. So what I'm going to do is bring this down here, and I'm going to add this one as well, and over here we'll change this to average, and we're going to change this to average treatment cost, so we can see both the total and the average cost. And I'm going to run this. So here you see that total cost, we still have the same order, but on average, let's see which departments patients tend to spend more on. So for a moment, let's just look at average treatment cost, and cardiology has the highest. So patients will tend to spend more in cardiology, then gynecology, then oncology. But the last three is neurology, general surgery, and emergency. But yeah, that's the breakdown of. I'm just going to return this back to what we had in. If you want to do both, you can, and just have both of them. That's not going to be an issue. So you see now, general surgery, when it comes to total cost, was the second, but when it came to average cost, it was much lower down on the list. But yeah, that's the breakdown of total, and let me add this, total and average treatment costs by department. Next, let's look at the average length of stay. So we are going to, I'm going to, let's select, and we're going to do average. Let's refer to the length of stay column as average length of stay, and we're going to reference our table, which is the hospital patients table, and I'm going to select this entire query. I'm going to run. So the entire length of stay for this dataset is 10 days, but it's not really going to do much for us. So let's break it down by department. So let's look at the average length of stay per department. So I'm going to move this here, and I'm going to have departments here. I'm going to select department, and we're going to do the average length of stay, and I'm going to group by departments, and we are going to order by the average length of stay in descending order. And I'm just going to run this. So, well, our data set said it was 10, and now based on department by department breakdown, it's still 10. Only general surgery has 9, but yeah, so the average length of stay was accurate for the entire data set and also across different departments. So I'm just going to write this as average length of stay by department, and we are done with this query. Now let's do a payment method distribution. So I'm going to, this is going to be payment method distribution, and we are going to select the payment method column, and we are going to do a count, and we're going to get the percentage. Well, I'm also going to do count, so let's start with count as, let's just make it counts, and now let's get the percentage. I'm going to do count multiplied by 100 divided by oops, this is an extra bracket that shouldn't be here. Counts all from hospital patients as, I'm going to make this, let's see, distribution. Nope, let me do something else. Let's see, percentage distribution. Like this. Then we're going to reference our table, and we're going to group by average, no, this is group by payment method. We're not doing it with average. Now let me run this query and we'll see what it looks like. So we have the percentage. This is the number of transactions per, so this way it says count, I could change it. Let me say let me just change this to, let's just make it number of transactions so it's better to understand. And I'm just going to, so the number of we have insurance, number of transactions, or how many times that payment method was used is 962 times, which makes up for 48.1%. Then we have cash 509 and card 509, which makes up for an equal distribution for, that's 25.95% of how many times this particular payment method was used. But yeah, that's the breakdown of different payment method distribution. Now that we've looked at the payment method distribution, let's see let's compare those patients that have insurance versus those that don't. So let's do insurance versus non-insurance. Patients. So we're going to select the insurance tab, insurance covered tab. And we're going to, we're going to do a count of the number of patients who fall on either of our categories, and we're going to make this number of patients and we're going to get the average of treatment cost as well. And this is going to be as average treatment cost. We're going to reference our table or our data sets, and we're going to group by insurance covered, and let's run this query. So the number of yes, that's for number of patients with I just noticed okay, let me run this again. Insurance covered, yes, is 962 patients, and the average treatment cost is about 3,672. And for no, we have more patients, that's 1,038, and treatment cost. So the difference is what, $3? If I'm not, yeah, $3. So I don't know if this is reflective of reality. This is not a real data set. We're not dealing with actual patient data. This is just a generated data set. So I don't know if this is representative of reality, but yeah, this is the breakdown of the number of patients who are covered by insurance and are not, and the average cost for those two categories. Now let's look at the breakdown of our diagnosis. So we're just going to say most common diagnoses, and I'm going to select, and I'm going to we're going to select the diagnosis column, and then we're going to do a count of all as there's the number of patients and we're going to reference our table, which is going to be the hospital patients table, and we're going to group by diagnosis, and we're going to order by number of patients in descending order like this. And let's run this. So we have chickenpox as the highest with 81, and then we have gallstones, flu, and so on and so forth. We have 30 unique diagnoses, but the lowest at 30 being stroke. But yeah, that's the breakdown of the diagnosis in our data set. Let's look at the average cost and stay by age group. So we're going to do an analysis based on the age group of our patients. So this is going to be average cost and stay by age group. So we're going to use case in this particular query. So we're going to select case. So we want to group different age ranges so that we can look at them individually. So we're going to do a case. So let's start with when age is less than 18, then we're going to call that group under 18, and then we're going to have another one when age is between 18 and 35, then keep missing that. Then we have 18 to 35, and I'm just going to select this and I'm going to paste this here. This is going to be 36 to 55, and this is going to be 36 to 55. We're going to, this is going to be 56 and 75 and we're going to make this 56 to 75, and else this is going to be 75 plus, and then we're going to end this. So let's end as age group. So we want to check not just the average cost, but also going to look at length of stay. So we're going to do both of that. So now let's do a count of the number of patients. So we'll do count of all our patients as number of patients and we are going to get the average length of stay as average stay and we are going to, let me just copy this instead of writing it out again. This time we're going to do treatment costs. And this is going to be average cost. Now let's reference our table, which is going to be the hospital patients data set, and then we're going to group by, we're going to use this entire case we created here to group. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste that here. Just going to remove this part and let's order by average cost. You can also do average stay if you want to. Okay, so I think I'll run this query now. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, we'll check and see what's wrong. So I'll run this. So for the 35 to 55 age group, we have the number of patients as 433. Average stay, I think we've already established in this data set that average stay is kind of balanced. It's around 10. The other time there was 11 and 9. This time there's 11. The average cost, so the average cost for the 36 to 55 year group is the highest, but again there isn't much difference between them. Even though there is a difference, there isn't much in terms of the difference in average cost. But yeah, that's the breakdown of the number of patients, average stay, and average cost by the age group. Next, let's do an outcome analysis. So I'm just going to write this as outcome analysis, and we're going to select the outcome column, and we're going to do the number of patients first. So let's count the patients. So we're going to do counts as number of patients and I'm going to do an average of the treatment cost. So let's reference our treatment cost column as average cost, and let's also get the length of stay. So I'm going to have a feeling that this is going to also be 10, because whenever we've worked with the average stay, it always comes down to around 10. So let's do length of stay, and we're going to reference our column, which is going to be the hospital patients, and then we're going to group by outcome, and I'm going to run this. So so for recovered number of I see why. So I was wondering why I'm having a particular result twice. Because I didn't change which one is which. So this is probably the average stay, but just going to change that, and I'm going to run this. So average stay came down to around 10, then 9. So we have recovered 1,816 patients. The average cost was around 3,655. transferred is 146, average cost was about 3,836, and finally we have deceased, which is the lowest number. Average length of stay was also around 9, and this is the average cost. But yeah, this is the outcome analysis for our data sets. Next, let's look at the readmission rate. So this is going to be readmission rates, and I'm going to let's select the readmission rates table. Let's put this on another line. Readmission within 30 days, and I'm going to do a count as patients and we're going to do a count as this, and we're going to multiply by 100 because we want to see a percentage, and we're going to select counts all from our data sets, which is it's not bringing it up, so I have to type it out. Hospital patients, and these are results. We're going to reduce it to 2 decimal places as, let's just write it as percentage, and we're going to reference our table, and we're going to group by readmission within 30 days, and I'm going to run this. So it will see that using round, because last time I had extra decimal places and I wanted to not have that, hopefully, but since that doing that didn't change the outcome. Yeah, didn't have an effect. So for readmission rate, yes, is 50.7% and no 49.3. So I'll say it's essentially isn't much of a difference in terms of readmission rate. But yeah, that's it. Next, let's look at the gender distribution of our data sets. So I'm going to make this gender distribution. And I'm going to select gender, and then we're going to do counts of all as counts, and we're just going to reference our data set, which is the hospital patients data sets, and then we're going to group by gender, and let's run this query. And for male we have 1025 patients, and for female we have 975 patients, and that's it for the gender distribution query. Next, let's do a city-based analysis, or location-based analysis. So let's do location-based analysis. So let's select, we're going to select the, let me put this in another column, city, and I'm going to do a count as patients and I'm going to do a sum. Let's look at the treatment costs. And this is going to be as total cost. And this is going to be from our table, which is the hospital patients, and we're going to group by city and order by total cost in descending order like this. So let me select this entire thing and we're going to run this. So Dallas has the highest in terms of total cost with $906,000. The number of patients, we're just going to look at it, but we're not going to really reference it. But then we have Los Angeles, Seattle, Phoenix, San Francisco. Some of Chicago comes in with the lowest, but it's not. I think this would be the lowest number of patients with 179. But Chicago has the lowest in terms of total cost for patients. But yeah, that's it for this query. For our final query, let's do a cost breakdown of our entire data set. So I'm just going to come here and we're going to do cost breakdown. So I'm going to select, we're going to get let's get the average medication cost. And this will be as average medication cost. And I'm going to select this entire thing. And I'm going to paste. Let's change this to lab tests. So this is lab test cost, so we'll just change it to average lab cost. And finally, let's look at let's just write a small equation. So we are going to get the average, let's get the average treatment costs and we're going to subtract this to medication plus lab costs. So we're going to add those two, then subtract it from this. So medication costs and we are going to add this to lab test cost, and this is going to be average, it's going to be as average other costs. So once we subtract those that are recorded in our data sets, we can get what that is based on our data sets. So I'm just going to make this from hospital patients data sets, and we're just going to run this. So the average medication cost is $528, average lab cost is $411, and then the other miscellaneous costs is about $2,730. But yeah, that's it for this particular video, for this particular tutorial. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.